There's a lot of talkers. Hello zusammen, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you guys are all having an awesome day so far. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're taking care of yourselves. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Diana and I am a Canadian expat living and working in Berlin, Germany for the last 4 years. And on my channel, I talk about life in Germany. I share with you my day-to-day. I talk to you about working in Germany, living here, the German culture, all of that good stuff. So if you are interested in that, definitely make sure to stick around. Today, I have another video for you on the German work culture and what it's like to actually work in a German office or with German colleagues, what you can expect. I know that every culture has different norms on what's acceptable in a work environment, how to act in a work environment, what is expected of employees. So I wanted to give you more insight on what you can expect if you are planning to move to Germany to work here and, you know, work with German colleagues. I was really inspired to make this video just by talking to a lot of you during our one-on-one calls, because many of you do have questions on what it is like to work with Germans, you know, what's okay to do in Germany. So one of the things I hear a lot during my one-on-one calls is whether or not a German work environment is extremely competitive, if it's cutthroat, if people, you know, are super aggressive towards each other and there's a constant fight to the top. That might be something that currently happens in your own work environment right now. I mean, I think it's quite obvious when you go out into the workforce, the idea is not always to stay, you know, at an entry-level position. You want to progress in your career. And I know that in some cultures, being more cutthroat or being more aggressive on your way to the top is completely okay. And of course, in other cultures, people are much more, you know, coy about it. They're not in your face about it, but it's obviously still something that is important. I think by nature in Canada and in the US, we're taught that if you want to stand out amongst everybody, you have to be the loudest in the room, you have to be very assertive, very aggressive, and that definitely shows when you are working in those countries. But in Germany, I haven't really seen that. People obviously still want to progress in their careers. They want to get to the top of the company or, you know, get that pay raise, get that title. That's still important here, but it's not as obvious in the way that they go about it. You're not going to see people try to make you look bad on purpose during meetings or steal your ideas on projects. People are not really like that here, whereas I've seen a lot of that back home and it can get very, very ugly. So if you are worried about a cutthroat environment, I wouldn't say worry too much about it, but just know that behind the scenes, people are still making their moves to get to the top. I know I've talked about this before in other videos, but if you are new to the channel, or maybe you've seriously just started to consider moving to Germany now and to work here, then I definitely want to mention this, because if you come from an environment that is much more open, where people are much more talkative and willing to share their personal life stories, then a German work environment is definitely not that. I know that this is just a huge shock for people coming from these environments. For instance, people coming not just from North America, but from India or from Latin America, from certain countries in Asia where, you know, the environment is just much more welcoming and embracive and people are much more warm by nature. No offense to Germans. The warm vibes, it doesn't come right away. It takes time. So I wanted to say that if you are expecting that, don't, you know, just lower your expectations, because Germans, especially in a work environment, like to keep things very professional. They don't like to do a lot of small talk here. They don't warm up to you right away. They don't like people who overshare too much about their personal life, especially at the beginning. So if you are going to be working in a company that is quite traditional and doesn't necessarily just hire foreigners or expats, then be aware of this, that it might take a bit of time for people to warm up to you. You being overly warm or overly friendly at the very beginning might put some people off. I know that this is a big concern for a lot of people moving here. I hear this, during my calls. I hear this in the comments, in my DMs. I see that people are really worried about this, but what I like to say is don't dim your personality. You obviously want to show who you are and you want to be true to yourself. And if you end up working at a German company, you were hired for a specific reason. You were meant to be there. Your skills are required. Your personality is something that they are looking for. So you don't want to go into, that office or into that work environment being a completely different person than what you're expected to be. But just know that it will take some time for people to warm up to you, for people to be more open with you, and for them to receive you as well. I know that this is something I struggled with a bit at the beginning. It was quite difficult to get through people, for me to even open up to people, because when I would see it clearly on their faces that they were maybe not that interested. So at the beginning of me working in Germany 4 years ago, I felt like I did lose myself a bit. I tried to dim myself. I tried to dim my personality and just not be, me fully. But I quickly snapped out of it because I realized that I deserved to be here. I got hired for a specific reason. And yeah, why should I change? Obviously, you want to be respectful, but you don't want to change who you are at your core, because then you're just not going to be true to yourself. You're going to be unhappy. You're not going to like your work environment whatsoever. And you're ultimately not going to enjoy your experience of living in Germany. The other thing I wanted to talk about is how Germans act when it comes to their accomplishments in the work environment. The reason I say this is because, again, back home in Canada, we were always taught to oversell ourselves. Oversell ourselves in an interview, in our position, always put 110% so we can stand out, so we can get that promotion, so we can be valued and everybody will like us. But when it comes to a German work environment, people are much more modest about their accomplishments. They're going to be much more modest during interviews. They're going to be much more modest in their day-to-day life at work. It's not that they haven't achieved great things, that they haven't gone to top universities, or that they don't know, 3+ languages, because a lot of Germans do, that they're not well traveled. It's not that. It's not that they don't have the criterias that make for a successful person or a person that you would be impressed by at an interview. It's just that by nature, Germans are modest in their achievements. They don't like to come off as boastful or that they have a big ego. From what I've gathered just by working at a German company, talking to other people, living here for 4 years, Germans really like to walk the talk. They don't just like to, say they can do something. They rather show you that they can do it. And this is very, very true in a German work environment. For sure, you will see that people here are very, very hardworking. They really like to prove themselves in their work. They like to excel in their craft and get really, really good at it. So for sure, that's something that you're gonna notice. Whereas I feel like in North America, Canada, US, there's a lot of talkers. People just talk about what they can do, because by nature, again, we've been told to oversell ourselves. But sometimes, and I should say more often than not, when it comes to producing and to showing what you can do, a lot of people just don't live up to the expectations. Now, I would say that I really like the German approach now, because it just gives you more room to wow people and to impress people. Because when you lower people's expectations and then you do something awesome, something that's super wow, then people get really impressed. And it's just really cool because people will value you more. You'll be able to actually prove what you can do and what you can contribute and what value you add to your team or to your company. So yeah, always leave room to impress people, even if that means that you're not being super cocky at the very beginning. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, you guys. A bit more insight into what it's like working with Germans and what you can expect if you are going to be working for a German company. I really hope that you guys found this valuable if you are in the process of landing a job here, looking for a job, or maybe you're just settling into your first German company and you want to know what to expect. For those of you who are interested, I do offer one-on-one coaching calls. So if you have specific questions about working here and you want tips on how to land a job in Germany, I'll leave a link down below so you can check out the coaching calls. And I also have an ebook that you can check out all about how you can move to Germany, and it's a step-by-step guide on how to settle in Germany. Here's a sneak peek into next week's video. I take you around snowy Berlin, so if you're new to the channel, definitely make sure to hit subscribe and hit that notification bell. So yeah, that's gonna be all for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I'll talk to you all in my next one. Tschüss!